So again, welcome. We particularly welcome those that are joining us remotely, and also to let you know that today's talk will be put up on our YouTube account later on, usually around 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock at night, and you can listen to it all week long. And I do encourage you to listen a couple more times. The title of the talk is Evolution and Divinity. It's a little intellectual and a little challenge if this is the first time this idea has been introduced to you. But I really love it when we think about evolution and we think about divinity. It's fairly easy to think about evolution when we look at technology, going from the old typewriter that was not plugged in and to computers now that are plugged in or run by battery. And all the advances that seem to be so rapidly coming into existence, we can see evolution. For some reason, the evolution of a human being is a little bit slower. But evolution is vital for our soul. When we listen to psychologists and read psychological books and spiritual books and Zen books, there's so many, approaches to life and the evolution of life. You never go by a chapter without reading the importance of perfection. How to perfect yourself, how to strive, how to create a better environment, how to build better human relations. It's all about improvement. Eventually, this improvement gives way to releasing our soul from its present state of existence so that it can advance. So questions, you really begin to think about your life and the life of your spouse and your children and your family and friends. You can begin to see how some have this strong impulse to transform themselves, to be better human beings, and then there are others that don't have that drive. They're happy with the way things are, with their life, whether it's good or not good. They're just stuck. So the people that I'm surrounded with, they're really thinkers. And they ask themselves, questions like the purpose of evolution and why better ourselves except to make ourselves happy. Well, the talk this morning is going to hopefully begin to plant some ideas about the source of this impulse, about the source of evolution for each and every single one of us. Now, I'm going to give you a sentence from the teaching, and I'm going to read it twice, repeat it twice, because this whole talk this morning, this is the axis of the talk. And this is the sentence. Evolution, the teaching says that evolution is the process to develop the forms. Evolution is the process to develop the forms until they reach their ideal or divine state. So that's evolution, the process of evolution. That doesn't mean just ourselves. It means everything. Let's say you're an artist. You want to surpass your present level of artistry. If you are a composer, you're not going to be happy with that symphonic piece of music. You're going to continue to refine it until in your mind it is perfect. And then 5 years later, you're going to go back and hear that music and realize, oh, I need to make some more changes. It can be better. It's so interesting. Where does this impulse for improvement come from? Well, this impulse comes from an archetype. Just introducing the word archetype, and then I'll say a little bit later more about it and what it is. The point is this: there is an inner spiritual evolutionary impulse that compels us to surpass ourselves and to become somebody, to be better than we are. And this is also true for the more evolved animals in the animal kingdom, like our cats and dogs and elephants and even horses. If you've ever gone to Phoenix, once a year, Phoenix offers this incredible Arabic horse show. If you've ever seen an Arabian horse, it is the most magnificent animal you will have ever seen in the horse world. Well, what makes, an Arabian horse versus a horse that's working out there in the fields and pulling a tractor or all the things that a horse pulls out in the field? Not being a farmer. There is such a difference. What makes a Hollywood actor or actress versus a politician versus a nurse or doctor or attorney? It's that evolutionary impulse to be somebody or to be something. When I think about our animals, pet owners who are sensitive to this evolutionary impulse will do their best to help their pets develop the potential of perfection. So when it is time for their spark to enter the human kingdom, they will be ready and not throw humanity into a state of chaos, because the teaching says our animals will someday enter into the human kingdom. The teaching says that there are forms, as far as the manifested universe is concerned, built of 336 different elements. This same archetype travels through all these substantial layers and eventually becomes tangible, comes into form. This archetype travels through all these 336 substances of elements and eventually comes into form, into manifestation. Now, an archetype. Archetypes are the blueprints of the things that exist in the universe. See, I'm trying to make it really simple here. So keep your mind open. Okay. An archetypes are the blueprints of the things that exist in the universe, ranging from the stars and the galaxies, and from the lower kingdoms to the human kingdom, to the angelic kingdom, and even higher. This great archetype, or let me call him an architect, this great architect of the universe formulated them. Or you could say God formulated all of these ideas. And in this sense, the essence of all existence is nothing else but an idea. For example, the Ageless Wisdom says that the great architect of the solar system, when he wanted to create this whole existence on the cosmic mental plane, thought and formed the ideal types of everything that was going to be in existence. and that includes all of us. That some blueprint within our soul holds this perfect ideal of what we're going to become. I think this is so beautiful and so magnificent to think that this great archetype had a plan and he had a purpose, and to make that plan and purpose actualize on all levels of existence, he created these archetypes. So the great archetype then projected these, the great architect, you have to say this, architect and archetype. The great architect projected these great archetypes then from the cosmic mental to the cosmic astral. You see, we're going down now, into denser and denser substance. Into the cosmic astral plane where the forms like me and like you and like trees and like animals took some astral essence or substance. Then he projected them down to the cosmic physical plane, where slowly these ethereal, invisible forms condensed and became the forms that we now know all around us. Now, the purpose of each form throughout evolution is to bring forth this ideal form that exists in the mind of the great architect. The ideal form would be his image projected into creation. And this is what we are slowly becoming. We traveled from the mineral kingdom, eventually becoming vegetables. Eventually we became animals. Then eventually we incarnated as human beings. Human beings are the first step in the conscious development of the archetypal blueprint that is within us. Are you still with me? Okay, I know this is a little heavy, but it's the teaching, and it's about life. And if you really think about this whole process of how we came into existence, how forms came into existence, you're going to become sensitive to and feel more this divine impulse that is urging you to be somebody better, to try to manifest this ideal form, whether it's in yourself or through what you are doing. This is why we can never be satisfied. Now, when I'm saying we can never be satisfied, it sounds like we can never find ourselves at peace with what we have created. That's not true. We want to be at peace with our creations, but we want to be inspired with what we've created, this object we've created, to make it better. And that's joy, and that's creation. So it's like you give birth to a child. Aren't you going to provide that child with everything possible within your means so that its environment inspires him or her to become a beautiful boy or a beautiful girl and a beautiful woman and a beautiful man that will make an impact on humanity? Right? All this comes from this divine impulse that is feeding this archetype within our soul to be somebody. All of our life, all ideas given to us by that great architect, by God, is about unity and love and evolution. as is the idea, predetermined decision. Predetermined decision means everyone has a predestined decision about the steps in their life. We can accept the decision given to us or reject it. See, there's the free will. But it is a decision for the common good of the soul and for the common good of all. It is a decision that has a long-range effect. So it is all good. So even if these ideas are new to you, let them challenge you in such a way that you eventually have an expansion of consciousness. You are going to grow into your heritage. That's what legacy is really all about. Your heritage, your legacy, is the archetype in the mind of the great architect of the universe who designs everything. Sometimes it takes a short amount of time to manifest these ideas in some kind of form. Other times it takes 30 years. So for example, from the onset of this group, the White Mountain Educational Group, we've wanted our own center. Now, we've always had places to meet, beautiful places to meet and hold classes and do our work. But we also had this idea how wonderful it would be to have a sanctuary. It took 30 years. And from the very beginning, I had said, we will never have a building that has a mortgage on it. I don't want to saddle, our group with a mortgage. So here we have, finally, 30 years later, this beautiful center that has no mortgage on it. And we have a parish house now that has no mortgage on it. Right timing, but we have to work for it. Every single thing we do in our life, whether it is helping the potential of a pet be realized, or helping the potential of a child be realized, or helping our own selves respond to that impulse to become somebody, we have to strive and work on ourselves and know that in right timing it is going to happen. But we don't wait for it to happen. That's the point. We can't sit back and wait for our dog to be a champion dog, or for our horse to be an Arabian horse, or for our child to be the president of a country. We have to work for it. Sometimes not in just one life, but the next life and the next life, because we believe in the continuity of life. So that archetype is always there within us, in our soul, that blueprint. And each life, as we come back into incarnation, we move up the ladder as a result of our striving. The secret doctrine. Oh, here's a cute little story. You've all heard this. We all have a little acorn. And you put that I'm jumping through paragraphs here. I'm sorry, because we'll never get through this talk. It's only 25 pages long. And I usually get to 3. So, so bear with me, please. The only thing that matters really is to actualize this archetype that was put in us as a seed. We have, for example, a little acorn, and you put that acorn under the dirt, and you say, I do not know what it is. That is us. 100 years later, the acorn becomes a huge, huge tree. That is your archetype that you are blooming out. You are unfolding yourself. How important it is that we come in contact with our highest dreams. I think this is why Winston Churchill told us, don't give up. Don't give up. The Secret Doctrine by Helena Blavatsky tells us the soul of the human being is an idea. The soul is a light projected from that great archetype, architect of the universe. The soul is a light projected from that great architect of the universe. I'll get it, honest. But the important point to remember regarding evolution and the divinity of forms is that an archetype travels through all these substantial layers and eventually becomes tangible. Distortion, however, can start on any level, and likewise, transformation can start on any level. This is why we need to undergo the process of evolution. For if we are on the path of self-mastery, we are beginning to undergo the divining of our human constitution. We don't want to remain, in other words, anchored to the earth. We don't want to become earth-bound and enslaved in matter. We want to undergo the transformation and transfiguration process so that we can be in communication with the super mundane and engage in service to the plane of hierarchy. I really believe that we can see within the earthly life those who are now responding to this impulse, this urge to be somebody better. And I think how we can tell that that person is now responding to this great architect, to God of the universe, is their love for humanity. If that person has a love for humanity, a love for the one God, if wherever they plant themselves they become this beautiful flower, this beautiful form, this person is engaged in the evolutionary process of making humanity this magnificent tree of life. Isn't that beautiful? Remember that the physical plane consists of 49 levels divided into 7 levels of the physical plane, 7 levels of the astral plane, 7 levels of the mental plane, as well as 7 levels of the Buddhic and the Atmic and the monadic and divine planes. Remember that the same archetype travels through all these substantial layers and eventually becomes tangible. So we go through the involutionary process and then turn around, and now we're evolving. So we're going from involution to now evolution. To give one, this is just an amazing little story, to give one simple example of how some of these 336 elements can be used in the world of art. There was a 14th century art object which was analyzed for chemical or elemental composition. They discovered several elements. They actually discovered several elements. For example, they detected that one element in the art object consisted of atoms with 82 protons. Another element detected in the art object had a nuclei of 47 protons. The two elements, one element with the 82 protons was lead, and the other element had 47 protons, and it was silver. That's just one art object. Imagine the chemical makeup of you as a human being. Then you look at the flowers and the plants down here in front of the lectern, or I'm looking at this beautiful orchid, out by the front door. Imagine the elements that compose this magnificent flower, the color, the stem, the leaves, the roots, the earth. All have an archetype. This building, this beautiful sanctuary, has an archetype. You have an archetype. In the future, we are told scientists will be able to use some of these elements, these 336 elements, to cure our illnesses. The teaching says space medicine will be related to planetary ethers, astral and mental substances. We will learn how to harness them and condense them as rays, forces, energy, or substance to heal our illnesses. Nature provides for each form he needs, its nourishment, and the elements of healing. This is something that happened yesterday. It's a cute little story, but I wanted to share the story because it happened to my son, but also because it shows how a person can be sensitive to their environment. My oldest son, he lives in Phoenix, and he came up to Prescott yesterday, and he always, tries to help things that I can't do because they're too heavy to carry. So he said, anything I can do, Mom? And I said, yeah, I've got these 2 really heavy boxes of fake logs, wood logs, in the back of the car. Could you bring them up to the upper deck? He said, sure. Meanwhile, a week earlier, he had been lifting furniture, and he's not a young chicken anymore. Anyway, he was lifting this big couch, and he pulled some muscle. So he wasn't, all that good shape anyway, but he said, yeah, he could do this. So he ran downstairs. Well, in running downstairs, he forgot to close the doors behind him. So all the dogs went out into the free and open space. We captured, some of you had that experience with these dogs, it's a crisis. Anyway, so off goes little Maggie, this little Sheltie, that free at last, and she's running up the hill, and Jeff is running after her, and here comes the motorcycle. Well, Shelties love to herd. So the Sheltie turned around and went taking after the motorcyclist, and Jeff is just going like this. He's going like crazy, and the Sheltie veered off to one of the side streets, and Jeff veered off to this side, finally caught him, brought him back, goes upstairs, collapses on this chair. This chair is surrounded by bookshelves of spiritual books and pictures of spiritual art. And he's just sitting here. He's sitting here with his hands like this. And I said, honey, you okay? You look a little pasty. He said, Mom, I'm just relaxing. Oh. Now, my son's a scientist. So I thought even he has been affected by the environment. It was so cute. The evolution of form does take place. So I learned something new about sounding the Om, and what it is balance. When you sound the Om, it creates a balance. It balances your center with your human constitution and with your environment. So he learned something, even though he was being really cute, and gave me, an hour of laughter afterward. It was so cute. But this is the process. You know, and then we talked about retrograde Mercury. You know, when you talk to a scientist, you know, about facts and living organisms and so forth, and then talk about retrograde Mercury. Well, I have to talk scientifically about retrograde Mercury to him. But now he's relating it, you know, in a very practical way. So the point is, don't give up. Nature provides for each form its needs, its nourishment, and the elements of healing. Alice Bailey said, everything is the product of one universal creative effort. There is nothing dead in nature. Everything is organic and living, and therefore the whole world appears to be a living organism. Forms are built of substance and matter. Substance is invisible to those who are not clairvoyant. Forms are built around a force field. And of course, material forms are visible. The great architect of the universe has a purpose. And to fulfill that purpose, he creates forms. He thinks, he engineers the forms he wants, he attaches a portion of energy to it, and lets it go into the currents of manifestation. For example, thought. A thought passes through the lower planes of the cosmic mental plane, then the cosmic astral, then it enters the cosmic physical, and going through 7 levels becomes at last a tangible form. Each form is like a cell in the body of existence. The cell in your body does not know that you are building a temple for certain purposes, as is every form in the body of existence, because that cell isn't conscious yet, that's all. Okay, I'm starting to skip around here. So what is a life form? A life form is the body of an entity. It is the body of a collected group of entities. For example, many lives come together to form or to build a form for a common interest. Then one of them takes over and uses the others, or guides them, or evolves them. This advanced one is the future personality. For example, mineral forms have a common entity, which they serve, as do vegetable forms. Animal forms have a group soul that works through them. Some of the animals, those that I mentioned, and yet others too, are on the verge of individualization. The human form has a soul that is individualized and separate from a group soul. The planet has a soul and a personality, just as a human being does. The solar system has a solar logos. All solar logoi have one soul, which is the galactic soul. On the animal level, every herd has a group soul. On a galactic level, the group soul is composed of all higher initiates who are conscious of their individuality and unity. What's so beautiful, perhaps not only to myself, but many, many years ago, my teacher said, you are all becoming a Buddha. And it was such a shocking statement to me. I could never become a Buddha. There's just one Buddha. Now I understand. We have this archetype of perfection within our soul. Buddha represents a collection of perfected souls. In the Agni Yoga teaching, we're told that Plato also is a collection of perfected souls. Every form created by us has a soul. See how this talk is food for thought? It's so beautiful. The form lives a longer life if the thought that created it is in tune with the plan or the purpose of the universe. And I think I will end there. We can pick up later. It's we have about 7 minutes left. And I don't want to boggle your mind with too much information. So hopefully you've taken notes, or if not, you can go back and listen to this on the YouTube or order the CD. What I didn't talk about is the whole process of transformation and resurrection. That it is never too late to Om